Greetings all. This is Cesartrix's all-in-one Necromancer video guide. I'm going to be going through each of the camps that I have listed in the guide as of, well, right now. There's a couple more that I'm going to be adding in the near future, and I'm going to make videos on them as I level up Dodsormer, my third Necromancer. I figured that this would be a nice way to introduce people to the camps rather than just reading about it. You could see it, you could see how the camp meshes, how things move, where patrols are, and things like that. It'll be all around easier for you to get sight on it instead of trying to read and interpret it, especially since it takes a very long time to try and detail out this type of stuff, because video has to easily be worth billions of words. Anyway, for this video guide, I'm going to do some basic introductory stuff at this point. If you want, I'll put in a thing that lets you just skip to Misty, but I want everybody to be on the same page if you are going through these and looking at all of these videos. As you can see, I have some twink gear on. Well, not just some, pretty decent twink gear. It's not full, like, insane twink gear, but it's probably mid-range twink gear for what this server has at this point. But what you'll notice is that all of it is pretty much int and HP. It's all health gear when it comes down to it. I specifically avoided items that give plus mana because I want to be able to emulate the type of mana pool that you would have at this level as an untwinked character. I added the extra HP gear because I want to have the freedom of not dying anytime something goes wrong when I'm experimenting on these camps. So, I have a lot of HP, 569 for this level. I could have plenty more. I could get Shadowbound boots, get, bracelets of woven grass, type of stuff like that. I could get things that would increase my HP further, but all around, I'm happy with 569, and yeah. Anyway, as you can see, I have 119 int. That is not too much over. If you went 25 int, which this character did not, you would have 110 intelligence. So I'm only 9 over that, so my mana pool should be about what you would expect. In fact, do I have a way of getting 9 out? There we go. That's what you would expect as an untwinked character. 292. As I go through, I'm going to collect items, I'm going to vendor them, I'm going to make money in the same way that I would if this was my first character. As I get this, I'm going to buy items to supplement these HP items. These mana items will increase my mana pool, but they should be on par with what you could do if you were leveling up for the very first time. I've heard from a lot of people, whenever they send me tells, that, oh, fear kiting, it looks like it should be very mana efficient and, stuff like that, but I just can't do a lot of stuff with it because it costs so much mana to do it. And you're right, I have 292 mana for an untwinked level of intelligence and no mana stuff. And, it costs 100 mana to do this. 40 from fear, 60 from engulfing darkness. And fear you have to reapply every 3 ticks. So you're not really making too much leeway on your mana during these pulls. You only have 292, so it's going to take a third of your mana just to start out the thing, and that's barring resists. But that's going to happen. You're level 12. Thing about EverQuest is that while the early levels are air quotes faster in terms of what the experience is, it's slower in terms of you don't have as many tools to accomplish your goals. And you're not really going to feel the speed of Necromancer until about 34, and then 49, and then 60, because Allure of Death and Death Pact are really shadows of what Lich is. Anyway, so yeah, I think this will be a fair test, this will be a decent way of making these videos, and enough beating around the bush, let's start the video. So, this is Misty Storyswapper, she is for level 12 to 16. This is the camp that I did personally when I was leveling up both of my other 2 Necromancers, because I have a tendency to love AFK camps. I like to be able to kill something and then step away for a couple minutes and go read a book, watch a TV show. I've been watching Archer recently, all sorts of stuff like that. It's a great thing to do. But if you're more active and interested in stuff, you're going to want to use a different camp than this. Especially as you get higher levels, you're just going to start stomping this camp, so it's not going to be useful. Now, as you can see, you have two mobs. These two mobs, you got one that's a lower level, and then Misty, who is a higher level. She is yellow to me, so she's 13, but she can also spawn as a level 14. What this means is that she would be red to you. You can still kill her if she's red. It's just difficult. You will get a lot more resists. You will get, you'll just get a lot more resist, and she'll have a lot more HP. But she's a bard, so she has lower HP than regular mobs anyway, so you should be in the clear. But how to handle this is that you don't have feigned death yet. So normally, when you get to level 16, if a pull goes wrong, you hit feigned death and you reset. You come back to it afterwards, you reset everything, and you're clear. There's very few times when you should die 16 plus, unless you simply got your feigned death failed, or you got summoned or something like that. But feigned death will get you out of the vast majority of situations. But until then, you don't have that advantage. So what I recommend is, you see where this hill comes down? That leads out to Kanos Hills. So go down that way, go up to the Kanos Hill zone line, and bind yourself there. Now, I know it kind of sucks because you're going to be bound over here in Kanos, but bind yourself here. Then have Gate on your bar. 70 mana. It's a huge amount to our 292 intelligence, or 292 mana, but we'll live with it. You have 70 mana, and use this as your escape key. You need to have an escape if things go wrong. You always need an escape. Feigned Death is the best one you'll have, but until then, Gate works just nicely. Anyway, to the killing. This camp is relatively easy. There's that one dude that patrols up into here, but he's a green and he's not that big of a deal, so you just look, make sure the coast is clear. You don't move in the middle of your spellcasting like I did, and interrupt yourself, and you pull them. Now, I try to pull them up this hill so that way they path around on this hill rather than over near Misty. You don't want him to social aggro Misty, although I can say I'm not even sure if that is possible. I've never actually had that happen, just because it's really easy to separate these two, so I've never really seen a reason. That's the dude that patrols, but he's green, so he's no big deal. Now my pet, he's done about half at this point, so I'm going to back him off. And I'm just going to let my dots do the rest of this, because I want to get the most of the XP that I can. Now Poison Bolt, it's probably not the best way to use your mana at this level, but hey, why not? A little bit of extra damage. And now I'm not even concerned about fearing him again, because he's 13% and he's going to run. Well, let's see, Poison Bolt is still on him. It's ticking for 2% of his HP. Let's see if it lasts long enough to tick him down. If not, I'll just send my pet over and my pet will one-shot him. But at this point, I'm still medding. I got Dark Pack for another 48 seconds. Nope. Whap. Go, pet. Now, a nice thing about this is that this guard drops a weapon which you can give to your pet. As you can see, my pet has one weapon, so I've killed this guy once before while I was warming up. And now my pet has two weapons, so yeah, he's going to dual wield. Now I'm going to wait for my mana to come back. Now, mana comes back fairly quickly at these levels, just with standard meditating skill. But Dark Pact is a self-breeze. If you're an Ixar, you won't feel it, ever. You won't even feel it standing. If you are a Dark Elf, Erudite, a Gnome, etc., if you're any one of those, you will feel it when standing, I believe, because you only get 1 point back, and this thing drains 2 points of HP. But yeah, it's not too bad. It's easy enough to manage. You won't feel any negative effects. But additionally, being an Ixar, you won't feel any positive effects from Lich. In truth, it won't seem worth being an Ixar for the first 34 levels, because the first 34 levels you're dealing with very low HP loss from Lich. And that's all around, if you're not going to feel it, it's going to seem like you're just having this XP penalty for nothing. The true beauty of Lich happens in the later levels. When you get to 34, when you get to 49 and 60, when you get Call of Bones, Lich, and Demi-Lich respectively. Anyway, So Mana's at 65%. It took me most of my mana pool to get the other guy down, so I'm going to wait for this. Now, a point about how these things respawn, and this is how you should look at every single camp that you do, if it's ever actually a camp and not just things that are out in the wilds, like in Oasis of Mar, which I believe is the next one that's going to be in this list. I killed this guard. He died, I don't know, maybe a minute and a half ago. I really don't have a timer running. But I killed him. That means he's going to respawn in 6 minutes and 40 seconds. So really, I have a solid 6 minutes to sit here and meditate before pulling Misty, just so that I can pull her without the guard being there. Now the ideal is to kill her 3 minutes after the guard is dead, which I shouldn't have a problem with. I'm almost capped on mana. You'd want to pull her 3 minutes after, kill her, and all would be nice. The reasoning for this is that if you then have their spawns separated by 3 minutes or so. This allows you to, with these camps being separated, you can kill one, meditate back up to full in 3 minutes, kill the next one, meditate back up to full in 3 minutes, kill the next one, etc. But if you get into a bad situation, if Misty is red, if you get lots of resists on one, which can happen, especially at lower levels, you're going to feel a lot of resists. This shit happens. But you can sit here for a solid 6 minutes before pulling Misty without bothering the guard, or you could just let the guard respawn and reset the camp. It's not too big of a deal. Anyway, I'm at 100 now, so... There's one more thing that you will probably notice, and that is the way that I am running right now. This is a strafe running. It's something that you learn to do as you play a bard and a monk and numerous other classes. It's basically a way of making you move slightly faster. It's not necessarily an exploit. I don't think it would be counted as an exploit, and if it is, I will cease it immediately, but I see every single person on the server do it because it's simply that advantageous. So you bind strafe left and strafe right to Q and E, or you set them to different keys if you want. Whatever. It's all your... I should refear. And the idea of it is that, and Q is by default the auto attack, so I changed that to tilde, and then tilde is assigned to another key, but it's as a secondary, so I would just drop whatever is the secondary for tilde. Anyway, so you have Q and E on. If you run forward, you're going to run at a certain speed. If you strafe, you're going to move at a certain speed. But if you do both, you're going to move slightly faster. In addition, when you strafe run like that, the mobs that can hit you, they have a harder time hitting you. Because if you move this way, the mobs can stab you in the back for a decent range. So like where my pet is to me, they could stab you like this. They could stab you like this. But if you strafe away, if you you're here and you strafe away, they will have much greater issue hitting you if you run that way. So I just make it a habit of just run like this. You can use your right mouse button to turn you, but you're just going to be moving like this across your screen. It's a nice way for you to be able to outrun and deal with mobs when you are low level and you don't have stuff like J-boots. Once you get J-boots, you probably don't need to do it as a necro, but hey, you'll be used to it by that point. Anyway, yeah, now I'm just waiting for the respawn on the guard. He should be up in time for me to have some mana. I may need to wait a little bit because I wasn't medding that whole time I was showing you about the strafe running. But all around, this is the camp. This is the start of the guide, and I hope that this guide and whatever else helps you on your way as a necromancer. Good luck, all.